Good morning, and hope you all are having a great Friday. And I have a tea today, and also a very important guest. We're going to be having our part 2 of our forest therapy talk. I thought it would be fitting. My tea has just steeped, and I also have a mug made by a good friend of mine's father, who's a potter, and it's absolutely beautiful. I'll actually put that in the comments if anyone would like to order a mug. Ooh, I've got a green spearmint tea today. Actually, it's green spearmint with Moroccan mint, which I'm really excited for. So cheers to your Friday. I'm gonna get my guest on today, Madison Travis. We are collaborating on a talk about forest therapy. So Madison is a certified forest therapy guide, and she's also an avid thru hiker and a phenomenal woman, incredible human being. Let's get her on. I'm gonna have her join. There she is. Good morning.
Hello.
Change this setup. I was wanting to show my tea. I was just showing I got my Moroccan mint spearmint green tea, and in my beautiful mug by a friend of mine. Where are you this morning, Madison?
I am at the library in search for better service and the beginning of our road trip to Montana to celebrate the 1 year anniversary of for my cousin. So
Beautiful.
yeah, I have my coffee in my thermos this morning, but
Well,
I
cheers. Yeah,
cheers.
cheers. Mm. Well, I wanted to get into a reminder for people from last talk what our intention was. We had a sort of a work to do. It was a 10-10-10. And I thought we'd go ahead and start with reminding people what that was, what 10-10-10 is, and then what our intention was for that exercise.
Yeah, so for last week, I really like the 10-10 method. I've kind of explored with some embodiments and forest therapy, and for me, it's a really great way to be introduced to forest therapy. And a half-hour chunk. If we shift things around and we can incorporate this into our day, and ideally, it would be in the morning. But again, everybody's schedule is so varied, and so wherever you can squeeze this in. It's really great on a lunch break, decompressing from a work day as well. You can do it multiple times a day too. So that's kind of why I like it. And so 10-10-10, so 10 minutes to sit with the embodiment. So to just sit there and do nothing and just be, acknowledge that you have thoughts, but bringing yourself into your senses around you. So obviously sight is prominent for a lot of us. So being able to strengthen our other senses as well through that process. And then 10 minutes to reflect. So 10 minutes to paint, draw, sing, dance, whatever way that you bring that embodiment and that experience from being connected with nature and yourself, and bringing it into your body and letting it become this sort of muscle memory. And then 10 minutes for coffee or tea or water, whatever your body needs, whatever you've decided that you need, to just sit and be still and embrace whatever that previous 20 minutes brought to you. And all of this ideally without screens. And so that's really the hope, is that people get disconnected from the screens and get more connected with themselves and nature, and through that embodiment. So yeah, and so the assignment was, for those of you who were in last week, you heard there was an excerpt from Mary Oliver. And so we took that, and you can look at my post or watch last week's IG Live for the reciting or to read that poem. And so we took that excerpt and we were able to just sit in our sit spot. And a sit spot is essentially a space where you have little distraction, where you can just be. So, for example, I could sit under this tree. I could sit next to a bush. I could sit. I know that you have beautiful sunflowers in your backyard. Um,
True. Huge sun.
yeah, and so ideally it's in nature, but again, you can sit by a windowsill, anywhere that you can find stillness for yourself. And you can start inside, and you can kind of gradually get to a local park, or maybe you're on vacation and you're in a wilderness area or a national park, and you can bring this practice with you to different places. So yeah.
That is special. Well, I'm curious to know where you did this exercise, and then I'll share a little bit about mine, and hopefully anyone in the chat room, if you want to share some of yours, and also for people who are watching later on, you can go that experience as well. So, what was your
Yeah, so I'm shifting. The sun is getting to my eye, but so
perfect, beautiful thing?
my yeah, mine was in I went out to the wilderness area here and did a backpacking trip in the Wind River Range, and I had no intention of doing my sit spot here. I was just going to do it at the bus, um, outside on the grass, but I we had set up camp, and there was this rock by a stream, and I don't know why I'm always just
Water.
called to be near
Yeah,
water. And there's these beautiful wildflowers and meadows and lakes, and I was the stream was where I needed to be. And so I I sat there and got some water to filter, which is, I think, a really therapeutic process for me. I think that's one of the things that I really liked about backpacking and through hiking. And so it I was able to be a little bit reminiscent about my time on trail, and grateful that I have these wild spaces. And so yeah, I just sat with that as I gathered some water from the stream. And Mary Oliver's words are always just so poignant and so invitational, and really empowering. So it kind of brought me to this place of appreciation for being able to filter my water. That's something that I take for granted in my everyday life. And we don't have running water in the bus, so that's another kind of thing that allows us to slow down. We have to, we gather it and get it from the hose, the RV park. But even taking that deliberate time to realize that sat with me this weekend. So I was able to reflect on that, and just the power of water, and being able to
beautiful.
just turn your faucet on and be able to get that water, or for us, a hose. But when you're out in the wilderness, being able to filter that yourself, there's something so visceral about it, and so it makes you appreciate what you have. So that was for me what sat with me this weekend.
Wow, and I
What
love that
about you?
too, because water is a big for the documentary The Connected Cup. I remember I really wanted to see how water played this connecting factor, and part of it was also being super intentional. So yeah, when especially on Mount Kilimanjaro, having to decide, okay, we're going to use this water for later whenever we're hiking, or are we going to make tea with it now or cook with it? So being intentional of what you're using water for and how you're going to get it later. And I think that definitely plays a part, and especially with the bus and everything now too. It's so cool to see that intention, and also gratitude every day with knowing where your water is coming from, and that you can get clean access or filter it yourself. That's awesome.
Yeah. So that's what sat with me. And and that's the thing, is what's crazy is it doesn't necessarily have to be that tangential experience.
Yeah.
Everybody experiences something different. So I'm curious what you took away.
Well, mine may not have been as eloquent. I decided to sit outside because you had told us before in our first conversation that, the practice of forest therapy, and especially with guides, it's that it is possible to do it in more of an urban space. And while I didn't quite do it in an urban setting, I have a beautiful backyard, and so decided to sit out there. I sat with the poem itself, or with that excerpt. The one part that I wrote down was at the very end, Mary Oliver asks, "What did you admire?" So I pondered on that for a little bit, kind of sat with it and figured out, what do I admire? I looked at what do I admire about myself, because I think with nature I often try to get back to, okay, well, what do I find like special about myself, because I think it's an ongoing connection that we have with our own minds and bodies, and how we feel about ourselves in general. And so I sat with that for probably 2 minutes, because that was about as long as I could have that very selfish thought in my head. So I also wanted to see what I admire about the people in my life that are closest to me. So I wrote some things down. And then I was able to admire what is going on in my backyard. So I had a few, I wrote down part of like the last bit where I could express myself. I did calligraphy, just using that term, what do you admire? Because the soothing side of calligraphy and just kind of doing some, I would call it doodling, not quite sketching. So I was outside writing, I wrote leaves because I could hear some of our maple trees aren't doing too great. They've got the patterns have been hot and then cold, and everything isn't
Yeah.
great. So their leaves are falling, as there's also green leaves on the trees. And so that was an interesting one to hear. It was kind of seeing that dead, falling, and then also seeing some new ones still thriving and doing well. So I sat with that and was able to sort of admire what's going on in my immediate space, and then going on in my own life and with the connections that I do have. So that piece ended up being really beautiful in that way. I was expecting just to, I don't know, I was expecting to sit with it and just be very present. And I feel like I was present in a different way than I expected.
Mhm. What are you talking about? That is so eloquent. That's so beautiful. Oh, I love that. That's
Yeah.
well, I like the journey that you were, taking us on. It's like it started with yourself, and then you were able to look at, the people around you, and then your backyard, and that's just, I mean, that's it's such a different type of presence, is like observing what's around you and taking note of the resources, and understanding the beauty just in it being, and not necessarily what we can gather from it. So that's amazing. I love hearing that.
Thank you. So I've got an additional question for you, with people who aren't always familiar with forest therapy and what a guide, really can bring to the table when it comes to exercises. So that was kind of an example. I feel like you were able to add on and help me see a little bit of what my exercise was and the journey of it. But how would you implement like how would you enhance the journey for someone who went on like an hour long therapy session with you?
Yeah, so I'm kind of experimenting with the timing of everything. My sweet spot with virtual is about an hour and a half, and then
Okay.
in person it goes up to 3 hours. So I mean, or longer. But 3 hours is a lot of time sometimes to set aside. Um, but I guess the best way that I describe it, because people are familiar with yoga as it becomes more integral in everyday lives,
Yeah.
and more people have experienced it. So a yoga instructor is there to deepen your poses, to remind you um, of the way that you're standing or you're breathing, and they're there to guide you through your experience with yoga, especially in the beginning, right? So, I mean, I know, like, for myself, I can better guide myself now, but it's always so nice to be able to go back and have that reminder, and have somebody be there to
Yeah.
nudge me in the right direction. And And for so long I was, was comparing myself to others. I was like, am I doing this right? Like, is this pose deep enough? Is my breath too loud? And so the minute it clicks is so powerful. And so I guess I try to explain forest therapy in that way. Is it's going to seem uncomfortable, and there's what we call edges, and so this discomfort, but growth lives in the discomfort, as I'm sure you're well aware.
Yeah.
And so it's identifying, like, playing with this edge of, like, what where can I be nudged to experience nature and myself in this way, but also acknowledge your limits. And so that's where a guide is really helpful. Is nonverbals are very, very obvious sometimes, and you can kind of see where people are, like,
Uncomfortable.
yeah, like, oh, talking to this tree. That's so, I don't want to talk to this tree. I have a hard time talking out loud. And I still struggle with that, like talking to more than human beings, and being able to conversate in that way. But it's fun to be able to explore that within myself and within others. So that's what a guide really is meant to do, is to encourage, to nudge, to cultivate that growth that you're aware of, but it just kind of takes, like, this gentleness to get us there.
Right? Connecting the dots for a lot of people. I think that's great.
And so, like, what may seem obvious to me is not to someone else, and someone else, like, in their share, elaborates what I was feeling, that I may not have had the words or the ways to express it. So it's really beautiful to have a group of people on a forest therapy walk, because
Oh,
it
yeah.
just cultivates this vulnerable space, and this connection, and this deeper connection that we're sometimes missing. So I think individually it's really great, but I really like the 5 to 10 people, because as a small group, you can really, you open up eventually, and you open up as much as you want, and everyone's supportive, and we hand around tissues sometimes, and we laugh, and we there's just so many emotions that go within these experiences. So it's fun to feel humanity in those moments is really powerful. So
Yeah, that is a great sentiment. Yes, to feel
yeah.
humanity. I love that. And especially, I feel like as more people are getting aware of forest therapy, what that means, and then like how guides can really connect the dots and enhance, I think that's going to be important for people to remember and look towards. Now, I know we had talked about doing another exercise. Is it going to be the 10-10-10, or did you have another one that we could implement for our very last, the part 3 next week on Thursday at 8:45 Central? We are going to do our last live, and I thought it'd be fun to also do one more exercise. Do you have one for us?
Yeah, I have. Okay, so pick a number. I was going to pick one, and I had one in mind, but I was like, it'll be more fun. So pick a number.
Pick an,
1 through 10.
let's do 7.
7. Okay.
That's my favorite number.
Oh, you'll like this. This is actually the one I was gonna. This is the one I was gonna pick.
This is love it. Okay.
All right. So this is what we call an invitation, and so to preface this, you experience this. You don't have to live just by this invitation. You allow, like you were saying, there's a journey. This is a prompt, an invitation to see where you need to go, and it's just to set the stage for your experience. So, in whatever way you need to experience this, please feel free. So it is, you are sitting upon a canvas. I wonder what pieces of the world around you can be painted on this canvas you sit upon, and what you may create with items found around you.
Ooh.
So that is Um, I would say set a timer for 15 minutes for this one, and then give yourself 5 minutes to reflect, and then 5 minutes to act on your day through tea or coffee or water. So 15 minutes for this one, because sometimes at the beginning, the first few minutes, you're like, I don't even know what to do. Like, what am I doing? But continuing to, like, again, that edge is, reminding yourself to just allow whatever needs to happen. And the best part is, like, at the end, and you're like, how is it already 15 minutes? So
Cool.
if you need more time, do what you need to do, but at least 15 minutes for this one.
Wow. And so in that 15 minutes, that's the reflection period, right? Or the five after it is a reflection.
So 15 minutes for this invitation, and then you'll take 5 minutes. I like to journal, but I've
Gotcha.
also been trying to, like, watercolor. So in that 5 minutes, um, just reflect in whatever way you feel in the moment, and then 5 minutes to go about your day. So
Awesome. Oh, I love that so much. And especially next week, we'll be able to. I'm going to give this intention to a friend of mine, and I also want to see what she does with it. And if she's okay with it, we can share an additional insight into how.
yes,
But next week, for sure, we will talk about how this whole the 15, 5, and 5, how it went for us. And I'm planning to have water for that one actually already because it's summer and I have not been drinking water. I know it.
no, I definitely need to drink more water, especially in this hot climate. But yeah, if I would love to hear your friend's insight. And then as far as that goes, if people feel comfortable, if they want to send pictures of their creations,
Yeah,
or videos, I don't know, you can DM me or Brooke, and then we can reflect together and share those, if people feel open to do so.
absolutely. Especially in stories. If you tag us in your stories, we'd love to see what you created.
Yes, that would be perfect.
Yeah, that's great. Oh, Madison, I'm so happy we were able to connect today. We were just talking about how special these, lives are, and this conversation has been last week, this week, and then how it will be in the future for our last component. But it also is just so great to see you.
No, I know. I was like, I texted you this morning. I was like, oh, selfishly, it's nice to just have this, like, weekly routine and coffee and catch up. So, yeah, I've really enjoyed it. It's been special, and I appreciate everybody that's joined or watched later. And IG Live is so new to me, and this is so much more fun than I thought. So I appreciate
Fun,
you're
good.
you're my guide for IG Live and nudging me, nudging me to
Gosh, I love
get
that.
out of my comfort zone. So yeah,
Oh,
it's reciprocal.
your journey ahead to Montana.
Thank you.
Nice. Mm. And we'll make sure we have a very special last episode coming out next week. It'll be kind of sad that it's over, but I'm looking forward to it.
Yes, yeah. Next week is the finale.
Yep. Okay. Safe travels, Madison. Thanks, everyone.
Okay. Bye.